Okay, friends, let's do another line graph here. This is going to be similar to the Ben snowfall data. There's no points like there were with the snowflakes, but that's fine. The points really are just helping your eyes focus on individual precision. With a stock price chart like this one, it's more important to kind of see the overall trend, and you can see that right here. It's trending downward, which is, as it says, Papa's plunge. John Schnatter used some really nasty racist language back in early 2018, and it had a nasty effect on his company's stock prices as people started reacting. So let's take a look at this, and let's actually let's answer some questions on it. What was Papa John's stock price in dollars at its highest valued point? Okay, on this graph, we go from January through July, and the stock price is up here on the vertical. So we want to look for the highest vertical value. Looks like it's right here. I believe it's right there. And if we kind of eyeball it over to this way, it looks like, let's call that 68 bucks. Okay? 68 bucks. That's what it was at its high. $68 per share. And how about at its lowest? Well, its lowest, it looks like they've actually drawn a circle around it for us down here. It looks like that's, maybe 48 bucks. Yeah, watch this scale. We're going to talk about it in a couple different times in this video. But you see these hatch marks, they're each 5, 5, 5, and the one in the middle, therefore, would be 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. When you get down below 50, it looks like it goes 2.5 and then not quite 2.5. So just be careful. Don't assume that this is going to be the same increment from 50 as 50 is from 55, because it doesn't look like it is. It went from a high of 68 to a low of 48. Now, very often when you see stuff like that, you're going to hear the news media say things like, Papa John's stock price today closed at blah, blah percent of its highest. And that's what question 23 is having you answer. What percentage is 48 of 68? Okay, what percentage is 48 of 68? Well, if you think about this, if it was still 68 bucks, it would be 100%, because if it's 68 and it's still 68, it hasn't changed. It's all the value. If it fell to 34 from 68, it would be half, or 50% of its previous value. So the percentage we're going to be finding is somewhere between 50% and 100%, because 48 is not as low as 34, but it's also not as high as 68. So I vote, with your permission, we go to Google and we let Google do the math for us. We're going to go 48 divided by 68, and that tells us, there we go, and that tells us, there it is, 71%. 48 is 71% of 68. So it's 71% of what its highest value was. By what percentage would Papa John's stock need to increase to get this lowest value back to its highest? Okay, now I gave you a little reminder here. We can talk you through it, though. The reason I gave you that reminder is because percentages often throw people for loops, because I think they overthink it. If you're starting at 48 and you want to get back to 68, you might think, well, what if I added 48 to the 48? So 48 plus 48 gives me 96. That would get me to 96 bucks. That's too high. So adding 100% is too much. 48. Let's add an easy percentage to 48. Let's add half of 48 to it. So let's start with 48, and then let's add 50% of 48. So half of 48, 50% of 48 is 24. If you add 24 to 48, you get, check my math, 72. So if you add 50%, it would take you up to 72. That's still too high. So the percentage we're looking for is a little bit below 50%. Now, some of you might be sitting there going like, dude, what are you just going to guess until you get it? No, not at all. We're going to use the calculator the same way we did before. But instead of dividing 48 by 68, I'm going to divide 68 by 48. And I'm going to get, oh, look at this. I get 1.42, which is 142%. 142%. Now, the 1 stands for the initial 48. This part over here is the additional 42% that would have to be added. So to answer the question here, by what percentage would it need to increase? You'd have to add an additional 42% to its current value of 48. to get up to the 68 that it was at. Percentages are always about what base value you're using. If you're starting at 68 and dropping to 48, that's different than starting at 48 and getting up to 68. Different math. Now, it's related math. If you look at how we did it, it's all just a matter of the order of the division. All right, so let's keep on going here. Looking at this graph, I noticed that the price in late April, maybe early May, was about 63 bucks. Yeah, sure looks like it, 63. And then in later May, had fallen to about 53 bucks per share. Yep, sure has. Maybe 52 and a half, 53. That's fine. But if you look at the graph, the points appear to fall way more than that. Let's actually just way more than that. All right. So by what percentage did the stock actually fall between the two indicated dates? Well, okay. If it started at 60, what did I say it was? 63 bucks and fell to 53 bucks. Let's look at the percent of 53 as 63. And the reason I'm doing 53 divided by 63 is because we started here and we're ending here. So if I go back to Google and I do 53 divided by 63, I end up with a percentage of 84%. So it fell 16%. It dropped 16%. It started at 100% at $63. It dropped 16% to 53 to come up to a final of 84% of the total. So for this one right here, it dropped 16% between those two indicated dates. But by what percentage do you have to decrease the length of the red bar to get to the length of the yellow bar? Because the red bar indicates the first $63 and the yellow bar is the $53. But if you compare the length of those bars, let's look. Well, this bar right here, here's the yellow bar. This bar right here is more than twice as big, right? If it were twice as big, you'd have to cut it in half. So it's more than twice as big. So you probably have to decrease that bar by about, say, 55 or 60%, which means this puppy dog right here is going to drop by more than half to get to this one. But we just figured out it's only a 16% drop from here to here. Why does the bar look like a 55 to 60% drop? And that's what question 27 is all about. What about the creation of this graph caused the discrepancy to happen, and why did they do that? And my friends, it's all about this axis, just like it was before. When you're making a graph like this and you don't start your axes at 0, it's going to exaggerate the vertical movement. If you started this at 0, this bar would have to drop 16% to get to this bar. But because we didn't start at 0, we started more at, say, 46 bucks, this looks like a heck of a lot more of a drop. So once again, it's that vertical axis that's screwing with us. Okay, keep an eye out for that. You're going to see that a lot as you go through your life consuming media. All right, we got one more to go.